Pokemon TCG recently, so with the Pokemon Pocket release, just going to go through a few different decks that you can use, a few different builds. Shout out to Mummy Milkers from the Discord for there and there, everything left there, so go follow these guys, go onto the Discord groups, get some information. If you want to play with the Gengar, it's quite self-explanatory, it says it there, but Spooky Shot, 100 damage for free, not the strongest but not the worst, but having your opponent not be able to use supporter cards, very helpful. That takes out Oak, that takes out Giovanni, that takes out Misty, Sabrina, you know, the support cards that normally get you in trouble. And best partner they've said here, Psyduck. I guess that's because of the headbutt doing the same sort of job with the flip of a coin, potentially stopping the support cards, stops them getting settled up. You've got Persian and Meowth in there just for a bit of resistance. I personally wouldn't maybe put Psyduck in this deck, because that means you're going to have, well, it will take a ghost card, but I'm not sure if that'll mean that you have a water energy. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it just means just because you've got Psyduck there it says ghost. I guess they would have researched that themselves. I'm just using their stuff because I thought this is an interesting point. Don't have this Gengar card yet, so we're on the hunt for that one. Then we move on to Machamp, another card that we've only just recently got. Love it. 120 damage, actually quite good for Machamp. Good health as well, so if it's going against Mewtwo, for example, it will survive and be able to knock out Mewtwo if it gets 2 hits. Stand/, best partner, 70 damage for 2 energy, quite easy how to work that one out. They've got Hitmonlee in this deck as well. Sometimes that's nice because the enemy will switch out off their strong Pokemon. If you've done 120 for Mewtwo, for example, they might switch that one out to try and save it, but you can move Hitmonlee into the attacking spot and punch them out, so not bad whatsoever. Some alternatives down there. Marowak, that's one of my favourites anyway, because that for 2 with Boomerang, you can end up doing 160 damage. Pretty easy to get set up as well, because you only need 2 cards. Now we'll move over to Wigglytuff. Only just got this card the other day, so looking forward to seeing how this deck plays out. Quite a simple set here with the move Sleepy Song. Can you say any more about it? 80 damage and puts your opponent to sleep. I mean, that seems broken, just like Gen 1 Sleep, so good old Wigglytuff bringing it home. Not the strongest card, easily defeated by some of the stronger EX cards because of the health, but let's be honest, seems quite a nice card to have, really. 50% chance for them to lose, not do any damage. And then with Executor coming up the rear or starting off this move, which would be the play that I would try for, you want Executor first, hit with Tropical Swing while you're building up energy cards on Wigglytuff. You've got some alternatives, Weezing for poison. Kangaskhan's always a good card to have as a partner, so easy, good damage for 1 energy. But if you're like me, the coin flips always do me dirty. Now we'll move over to Greninja. This card I've recently just started using in my water deck with Misty. And you know what? Very, very helpful. I use it with Starmie though, so the Starmie deck, we do have that image there, so we'll go through that one too. But with the Water Shuriken doing 20 damage, that puts quite a lot of the heavy hitters into kill range. Partnered up with Articuno, so what you want to do with Greninja is try and have it not in the active slot, and try and have the partner in the active slot. So for this deck, for example, you would want Articuno out active, using Blizzard, doing 80 damage to the active Pokemon and 20 damage to the bench. Then your Water Shuriken you can pick on the bench, so you could knock out some of those unevolved bench Pokemon real quick. And then obviously your standard water deck there with Misties to try and get you those energies. Do have some alternatives instead of Articuno. Like I say, Starmie's my favourite, 90 damage, Hydro Splash, really easy, really good. But I quite rate Golduck. 70 damage, but not being an EX card, you don't lose those 2 coins straight away, so that's one of the strategies that I think people miss out on. For me, when I'm trying to battle, I try and get rid of 2 non-EX cards for the 2 coins, and then throw your EX card in last for your Hail Mary. But sometimes you get set up and you can get rolling, so it just depends on the luck of the cards. Then we've got the Weezing deck here. This one, personally, I haven't really used, don't particularly rate Weezing, it's not the strongest, but it can be difficult, you know, Ghastly doing 10 damage all the time, tackles do build up, and then obviously with Koga, the Weezing can just swap around, so, you know, it's not the worst. I like Weezing with Muck, I think that's a good combo, but they've chosen the best partner in their view is Arbok, which is also good because that means once it's poisoned, swap out to your Arbok, they can't escape. Pretty simple stuff there with Corner, stops them from being able to retreat, which means they're going to die, let's be honest. So, not much to say on Weezing because I personally don't rate this one, but if you want to know how to use anything, it's there. Now, this one, probably one of the most broken strategies in the game, Starmie EX. Doesn't matter what partner you put with it, I'm sorry, they've chosen Articuno, sweet, good, pick your partner. It's pretty much game over if you can get Starmie rolling quick. Like I say, personally, Starmie with Greninja, you just mess around with the numbers, take away for the Greninja deck, take away the 2 Articunos, take away a Sabrina, bang. You probably could take away an EX speed as well if you wanted extra throw keys or Frogadiers in there, because guess what? Starmie doesn't take any energy to retreat, so you can hit Hydro Splash. If you get hit back, you can just dip straight away. It's just so quick to move around the board, and you can save yourself losing points. So honestly, personally, the water deck, probably the second best deck in my opinion that's out there, currently floating around. It's self-explanatory. If you played the game, you'll know what the water deck does. Marowak EX, probably my favourite fighting, even though it's a ground type, but don't make up the Pokemon rules. Like I say, 2 coin flips, 80 damage there, that's 160 potential damage, but if you're like me, I always get 1 heads, 1 tails, 50-50, it works out, the math just maths. But, you know, there is a chance that if you're fighting a Mewtwo, for example, you can one-shot this Mewtwo EX, easy one-shot with Boomerang, if you get 2 heads. And then, like I say, Sun Slash there in the back, useful for consistent damage. I rate this deck, this is probably exactly how I'd have it, there's no alternatives for me. I see Kabutops, Dugtrio, and just a normal Marowak. Maybe you could just stick a normal Marowak in there instead of having 2 EXs. It's hard because it's unlikely you're going to be able to put both out, so you probably get away with doing a normal Marowak too. A standard build with the support cards, Giovanni, Professor Oak, Sabrina, so the usual. If you want to make the deck, at least you've got all the information here. And then you want to play Blastoise, honestly, big HP, massive damage, and when you've got Misty, all water types are usable, whether or not they take 3, 4 or 10 energies. So you just with Blastoise, you just got to be careful that you don't. I personally would do the Golduck strategy first, have your Golducks out first, try and get them down first, because you can't rely on Misty. Honestly, the amount of times I flipped Misty onto the Blastoise, 0 heads, all tails, 2 cards, pointless. It's so frustrating with the Misty card, it's all RNG. So the strategy that's a bit more reliable, try and do the Psyduck, Golduck, get that kill twice, moving your Blastoise there to sweep. 180 pretty much survives everything except for Charizard, so it's a devastating set. And then when you attack Charizard back, big damage. You know, 160 with the 5 energy plus then the 20, 180 pretty much wipes out Charizard if you've got some damage on it. Now, my personal go-to deck, hand on heart, this is my favourite, the Mewtwo deck. So for me, this, if you've got these cards, use it. For me, I don't have enough Rolks, Curlier and Gardevoir, so what I do, I run this as a hybrid deck. So I use the Mewtwo, Gengar, without the EX Gengar that is, lines, and the Rolks. So you got 1 set of Rolks, 1 set of Gengar line, 1 set of the Ghastlies and Haunters and Gengar line. So you've got Gardevoir, Gengar line, and the Mewtwo EX. Plus all the support cards there. Personally, some of these cards are useless. I do find the red card, I get its use, but honestly, if you've got other Pokemon to put in there, do that instead. And I can see here they've chosen one card that's not mentioned here, Jinx. Honestly, people do not understand how good having a Jinx is in your deck. So easy to get out, 2 energy for Psychic. Yes, it doesn't hit very hard, but most of the time, your opponent will have energy cards. 20 extra damage per energy card. It's just good damage. Most of the time, you're going to do 70 damage. That's good damage in my opinion. And one of the things I love doing is sometimes if they've got a Mewtwo EX or they've got their Charizard and it's got 4 energy cards sat on it, you move into Jinx, you can smash that really hard. And that's 80 plus 30, 110 damage from a Jinx. Don't see it coming. Doesn't survive hits, of course, but that's just my personal thing. I like throwing out these random cards that just aren't loved, you know. Jinx just seems to be a good card for this deck. So for this deck, my choice would be remove red card, throw in a Jinx, because it's nice just to have something you can summon straight away at the start. 80 HP, takes a bit of hits, so you can get the rest of the deck rolling. And let's be honest, red card's a bit hit and miss if it actually does anything for you. Then we move over to Zapdos. This one's pretty simple. Zapdos and Pikachu, it's like bread and butter. These two just work so synergistically. The deck's got Blitzsteel in it. Zebstrika, not my favourite card, but again, similar to Hitmonlee, you move into Zebstrika and you can take down something that your opponent's moved to the back. Because let's be honest, lots of times when you see Pikachus or the Zapdos, they want to retreat, they want to mate, they want to hit first and then go. Obviously, with the Thundering Peck, there's a random chance. Most of the time this hits for 50 to 100, well 100 sorry, rather than anything else, so it's not too bad. And like it says there, Peck doing 20 damage, you know what, for 1 energy at the start, you know, you play Zapdos straight away, useful whilst you're building your the back bench. 20 damage is respectable for turn 1 or 2. Obviously their, Geo can help and bits like that. They've put alternatives here, but honestly, Pikachu, Zapdos, these two just work. Moltres and Charizard. Can we just have a shout out for how broken this can be? Unfortunately, it's very reliant on you having those cards. The amount of times I've tried with the Moltres and the Charizard to get this card rocking is just crazy. But Inferno Dance actually works really, really well because it flips 3 coins. Chances are you get 1 to 2 energy cards each time. Moltres is quite good at taking hits, so especially starting for 1 energy to start filling up your deck, or filling up the backboard rather, the bench. Honestly works really well, but Charizard gets swooped quite quickly because Charmander, Charmeleon, if you happen to play them up front and you don't have the Moltres in your hand to begin with, it can be a rough day in the office. Then we move over to Articuno. It pretty much mirrors up with the Starmie. They both work hand in hand. You can see some alternatives there with Lapras and Greninja and Tentacle. I think Articuno is the key to most of the water decks, if we're honest. The fact that it can do 8 damage, respectable, not the best free energy of course, but the extra damage to the opponent team. All the chip helps because there's lots of switching, especially when you're trying to win a card game, a duel against someone. You want to hit and then you want to get out, so keep your Pokemon alive, your card alive, so being able to do some bench damage and still hit them is pretty reliable. But really, this is a Starmie deck, but we'll label it Articuno. Charizard pretty much works the same, exactly the same way, so there's no difference between this and the Moltres deck. So we won't go over that one too much, but it's there, it's exactly the same, and this gives you quite a nice little summary of what it can do. It can be unstoppable once you get this rolling, because 2 energy actually isn't too bad. But this isn't as broken as Mewtwo, but 200 damage wipes out every card in the game, so we move over to the boy, the best Gen 1 starter. That is our boy Venusaur here. So this card, again, works hand in glove with Executor. Executor goes out first, starts drop swinging stuff, starts trying to mash those down, and then you move in Venusaur. I quite like the Lilligant and Venusaur set, and the Butterfree Venusaur set works really well as well, because these ones can just keep it around. Giant Bloom, 30 heal, Erica, 50 heal, Butterfree, 10, this thing just keeps lasting hits, and unless they get the Charizard, which can one-shot, this thing can take a while to kill. So get your eggs rolling, could be useful. There's loads of ways. A lot of these decks rely on you having 2 EXE cards. If you're like me playing free play, you probably might not have those, so you can mix and match this, sort of take out some of the Bulbasaur line, put in the Butterfree line, or put in the Lilligant line for the extra energy. It's all useful, it's all relative. You build your decks to resemble this in some way, but you have to move it around. And then we end here on the broken, the most aggressive start, turn 2, turn 3, you're absolutely whopping teams. So by your second turn, by your third team, Pikachu should be doing 90 damage easy. Obviously this is built in mind with having everything being able to be played straight away. It's very unlikely you're going to get Zebstrika in your hand, 2 Zebstrikas in your hand and all these support cards, so you can't put Pikachu down, or Zapdos. Obviously we've already explained Zapdos, good 20 damage to start off with, not the end of the world. And honestly, just so good. And for 2 energy, 90 damage consistently, decent. Whilst you've done that, you've got the 2 energy cards on here, you start loading up Zapdos. Pretty good. There's not much more we can say about that, but my personal opinion, if you want my choice of decks, if you've got the cards, Pikachu is number 1, because it's difficult to play around for the start. It goes on bench Pokemon. You struggle with that to get 120 damage off. There's very few cards out there that can kill Pikachu before it starts hurting you. Kangaskhan's one of those, so honestly this one's probably my choice of decks. If that was interesting to you guys, let us know in the comments. The pictures are all there, I'll put links in the description. Make sure you use code TheGarlicGamer ! Over on W to get 10% off. Got a huge Black Friday sale, so head over there now and like and subscribe for more. Ciao.